Welcome to the Executive Coaching Podcast, where Executive Coach Alicia Cowan will discuss leadership topics and coaching solutions to tackle the most difficult problems that keep you from leading your team to success.
Hi there, leaders. It's Alicia Cowan. Welcome to episode number 32 of the Executive Coaching Podcast. So, around the Cowan house, it has now been a month as I'm recording this that we have officially moved into our new place. It started to get settled. And I'll say this, as excited as we were to get into our house, we are even more thrilled to be in it and living in it and having our own spaces and having all of our stuff under one roof after it being in storage and kind of far-flung all around the world. It's been so great to get settled. And all of our main living spaces are now in a space where they're very livable. Our garage, however, is still getting there. So if you were to open my garage, you might be a little concerned, but that's okay. We moved from Ohio and coming back to Florida, where I grew up here. I know there's no basements. So there is not a lot of places to put things that you would normally put in a basement. So that is all in our garage. So that's just me airing my dirty laundry very publicly, that maybe by the next time I'll record this, I'll have at least made some progress by the next podcast. But the living spaces are in a great place, and we're loving living in the new home. And so we're slowly making this place our own. We have some exciting upcoming developments that I will talk about in future podcasts about what's happening with the house. And then there's so much other stuff going on. We are in the thick of competitive cheer season. Our 13-year-old daughter is on a competitive cheer team, the Brandon All-Stars, and she is headed into a competition this weekend in Orlando. And at the time that this will go live, we'll be headed to another one in Atlanta. And so lots of travel going on there, and watching her compete and do something she's so passionate about is really, really fun. So I'll fill you in more on that. But that's really what's going on around the Cowan house, getting settled, some travel for cheer competition season, and coaching you. That's another big thing that I've been working on. And I want to give a shout out to one of my listeners and clients who has been elevated to a role. And we've been working through coaching together and talking through her team and her leadership style and how she's going about approaching it. And this topic came up. And I will say, not only just with her, but with other clients that I'm thinking about as well. The topic of delivering feedback has come up as a theme. And you know what I like to do on these podcasts, bring you what I'm hearing with clients and what I'm hearing out there in the field, and talk about it, because I think it's helpful to share here. And I think this is something that I can't believe actually that I haven't talked about yet on the podcast yet. And I know we've talked about difficult conversations and performance reviews, again, similar vein, but really I'm going to hone in on the actual delivery of feedback. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And so here's what I'm hearing from a coaching side of it. Here's what I'm hearing on the front end. A lot of times what I'm hearing before the feedback delivery occurs is a lot of angst and worry and fear and nervousness and trepidation around delivering feedback. And some of the thoughts sound like, I'm less tenured than this person, or I'm younger than they are. Shout out to some of my senior leaders that have risen through the ranks really quickly at a younger age. Not that it should matter, but sometimes it matters when how we're thinking about it. Okay. So more in our brain than it should matter out there in the world, but shout out to you. But that's a thought that can sometimes come up that's holding us back from feedback, is that I'm younger. Sometimes I hear this person that I have to deliver this feedback to is more of a subject matter expert in this space than I am. So even though I may be a people leader and I may be leading a large amount of people, I don't know as much about this particular topic than they do. Other times I've heard, this person, if I deliver this tough feedback, they might not like me, or they're not going to respect me, or they're not going to listen to me. that can hold us back for sure. I've also heard like, I don't really want to hurt their feelings, or they've been doing it this way for so long. I don't want to come along and give them feedback that they haven't heard before and then end up hurting them. I've also heard things like, on the other end of, they should just know this. They've been doing this for a really long time, or they should have known this. This should be so obvious to them. And it's not. And so this is just a sampling. This is a sampling. I know there's lots of other thoughts that might be holding us back from delivering feedback, but this is just a sampling. And so I want to say this, a lot of times this is really, really normal to have these type of thoughts and to have these type of, these feelings come up. And here's why. I've talked about this before, but the primal brain and our primal instinct to quote unquote survive, our brain really sets us up beautifully to do just that, to survive. And a part of what our brain and our primal brain thinks is survival mode is to stay a part of a community. And then the quote unquote, like the pack, if you will, or the herd, so to speak, if you stay a part of a community and a large group and we don't get separated and we get ousted from the group, or again, left out on our own, again, primal brain speaking, then we will stay safe if we stay with the pack and we don't get separated. And so notice that's what happens at times is our brain, when it starts to think about this person that we want to give feedback to and the feedback that we want to deliver, sometimes it's not always sunshine and roses and pleasantries. And it doesn't mean it's unkind, but it may be something that a behavior that needs to change or something that might need to look different based on your observations. Okay. And so to be a true leader and to be, especially a senior leader, when you're leading a lot of people at a high level, and just the title alone separates you and separates you from the group, you have to consciously separate yourself from the pack and step out from the group. That's what it really means to be a leader. And that's what you're doing. And why I want to talk about this primal brain and why you can do it is because I want to normalize it and to say, like, this is normal. Like, nothing's gone wrong with you. It's normal to kind of feel nervous. It's normal to feel fear. It's normal to kind of fear that feels anxiousness. When you think about it, we're just saying words. We're just talking to another individual and another human and giving them our observations and what we're seeing. However, though, so knowing just that your brain does this and knowing that that is a thing, first off, let's normalize and know that it's okay. But to realize, like, some of this is just because our brain's trying to do its sweet job beautifully and just protect us and keep us safe. That's where we have to come in with our modern day brain, our prefrontal cortex, and decide ahead of time, like, okay, I know this is going to come up for me, but there's a lot of reasons of why I do want to give feedback. There's so many good reasons why I, as a senior leader, want to put myself in a situation where I am stepping out, giving great quality feedback. And there's reasons why I want to do this and overcome this. Okay. And I know that's a lot of you listening. So that's what we're going to talk through today, is really talk through how we work through those thoughts. And then I'll give you some tactical tips here to take away and to walk through and to practice. Okay. So let's think about, why would we want to give feedback? Why would we want to put ourselves in the situation and go through with it anyway? Well, there's a lot of reasons. And I'll give you some, again, that might feel familiar. Okay. So one thought that we could have is that we actually really do care about the associate. We care about their results. We care about their career. We care about their livelihood, and we care about this person. And part of caring about someone and their career, and their growth, their livelihood, is giving them the feedback that they need in order to succeed. Okay. What a great reason. Even if we know that they're not going to necessarily be thrilled with it, even if it's not most positive feedback always, it can be a great reason if we're doing it because we want to see them succeed. Okay. Again, I was talking with this senior leader that I mentioned earlier about how she decided she had some really great quality feedback she wanted to give, was a little hesitant in giving it. But her reasons were so true and genuine because she truly believed in this person's potential. And she saw that they had greater capability than what they were living into. And that reason was super compelling. Okay. So that could be one reason. And I love that reason if that's the reason you decide on you want to go with. Also, you also care about the overall team and the impact on what this person's results or lack of results are doing to the overall team and the company's overall results. Okay. So not only the individual, but your broader team and the company. You could also really care about the other colleagues that you work with. And so, again, sometimes we've seen situations, and you've been in these situations where one individual may be impacting the work of others and maybe impacting a lot of colleagues that you're working with. And you need to give them that feedback to let them know about the impact they're having on others. And so, if you genuinely care about the welfare and the broader team, could be another really great reason to go with. Okay. And last one, you may really care about the work environment and the culture and your sense of leadership and your sense of integrity and who you want to be in the workplace is someone that's going to protect, again, the associate, the team, and the overall environment and the culture. And you might not want to be in a culture and an environment where everyone is just people pleasing and placating each other and not being honest and not being direct. And everyone maybe just seemingly on the surface happy with each other, but we're not really getting down to our truths and we're not being honest and clear and direct and at the same time kind. Okay. And so hopefully these are some compelling reasons. I think there's lots of other ones, but a lot of these I think might be able to at least spring some thoughts for you of like why you want to give great quality feedback. Okay. So what do you do now? Well, because if your leadership style is such that you want to honor some of those reasons of why you want to give great feedback, then it's up to you. You have to overcome that primitive part of your brain that's telling you not to do it. And we have to work through that. So that's what we're going to work through here first. So how do you do that? Well, quite simply, you start with those thoughts. So if any of those thoughts that I stated earlier felt familiar of things that are holding you back, we'll start there. And maybe it's another thought that sounds a little bit more similar, but again, maybe it's something like, again, they're a subject matter expert in that space. So I don't really have anything of value to add. Let's use that one. Okay. So how do you know if a thought is holding you back? Well, quite simply, you write it out. Okay. So how you would do that is you would take maybe, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. It does not take long. And you would on a piece of paper or tablet or phone, whatever you prefer. I like paper. You would write out and think about the person and the feedback that you would like to deliver. Okay. So you would write out what that feedback is and what you need to deliver, what you would like to deliver to them. And then to write out what you're thinking about it. So when you look at that piece of feedback and you think about that person, write out all your thoughts that you're thinking about this situation. Okay. And you want to get those things out of your brain and get them onto paper so that you can look at them cognitively. So you can kind of step back from it. It's like the difference between having these thoughts spin around your brain. And then maybe if you were like watching them on TV or watching them on Netflix, okay? Like you're sitting together, like looking at them, watching them, right? So you write out everything that you're thinking about this feedback and this person that you have to deliver the feedback to. And then you grab a thought, right? So you grab one. Like I said, I'm going to grab this one that I've heard about somebody that was holding back on giving feedback because they were placed as a leader, a supervisor over this person as a senior leader, and they were not a subject matter expert in this space, but they had someone reporting to them that was. And so this leader had some really great, valuable feedback to give to this subject matter expert. But the thought that was holding her back from delivering the feedback was, they're more of a subject matter expert in the space. And so I don't have anything of value to add. Okay. So this thought was discrediting her feedback that she wanted to deliver. How she felt when she thought that, she felt just defeated and devalued. Okay. Now, I want to be clear. No one else was telling her this. No one else was giving her this message. The person wasn't giving her this message because she hasn't even delivered the feedback. Her boss wasn't giving her the message. Like her colleagues weren't. No one. She was just thinking, well, they're a subject matter expert. So therefore, I don't have anything to add, or I don't have any value to add, right? My feedback's not valuable. So she felt devalued. And then what she did, and this is the exercise for you, you're going to write how you feel, and you're going to act what you do or don't do. So how you act, what actions you take. The actions that she was taking was to stay quiet. She was actually withholding. So she was not acting on her feedback. She was letting this person proceed and go about their life and their work without receiving the feedback. And so even though she had some feedback on some behaviors that she'd like to see them do differently, some actions she'd like them to take, the result was she held back and didn't take it because of her thoughts. And then the result was nothing changed. Okay. And she didn't become more of a subject matter expert in the space because she wasn't having great dialogue and asking questions and learning. She didn't add anything to the conversation with the person because she was holding back her thoughts. And really, so everything just stayed exactly as it was. Okay. And so I really want to give you this exercise to show you, okay, what you can do here is, again, start with your own thoughts, write down how it's making you feel, write down how you're either acting or not acting, and then notice the result. Write down the result that's happening as a result of the action or inaction. Okay. And if you're thinking this sounds familiar, it absolutely is. We're working through the model, which I believe was episode number 1 that we worked through really in depth. But this is the stuff, this is the work, this is the coaching work that can help you. And it will help you understand our thoughts about it are what holds us back, not because it's factual. This woman was absolutely in a situation where she had great feedback and great contribution that she could give. She was a strong leader. Yeah, she wasn't a subject matter and the expert, but it doesn't mean she didn't have value to add. Okay. It was her thoughts that she didn't have the value add that ended up holding her back. All right. So when you look at that and you do this exercise, you get to then decide, is that thought true? And do I want to keep thinking it? Okay. So in this situation, yeah, it was true that she wasn't the subject matter expert in this area. That didn't matter. The part that wasn't true was that she didn't have value to add. That part completely false, right? And so we were able to look through that together and say, you know what, this is not true. And she got to decide she didn't want to keep thinking that she didn't have value to add because it was something that just simply wasn't true, not provable, and it was holding her back from leading her team really well. Okay. So maybe you just get to decide, do I want to keep thinking that thought or do I want to choose something different? And again, we talk through different thoughts you could think, and again, sometimes it can be easy and simple, just as like feedback can be kind and help someone reach their full potential is a great thought to grab onto and think. And then you can move on and decide, now, what do I want to do about it? If I can move past and through these thoughts that I'm having, that again, are just my brain trying to keep me safe, what then do I want to decide to think instead in order to deliver really great feedback? Okay, so hopefully that's helpful on the thoughts and the coaching side of your thinking and how you're approaching feedback. Now I'm going to transition. I'm going to get tactical and I'm going to give you some tactical tips, but I promise you this, tactical tips don't work if you're not thinking the right thoughts about them. So we'll talk through them, but no, I think that first part, if you can just do anything, it'd be self-coaching yourself through that. And again, if you want help, I coach leaders on this type of conversation all the time. So happy to help you. But a bare minimum, notice what you're thinking and how you're feeling about the conversation before you go into it. Okay. The next piece, tactical tips. So how do you go about getting feedback as a part of your normal leadership practice? All right. So tactical tips. The first one that I have for you is hopefully you have a great one-on-one practice, meaning you're meeting one-on-one with your direct reports and your boss on a regular cadence, right? I would say number one tip, add it to your one-on-ones, right? So there should be an agenda topic of putting feedback into those one-on-ones. It's a great place to normalize it and just expect it. It's a part of the agenda. It's part of every day, every week conversation. And then you get to practice it, right? This is a great space, the one-on-one conversations that happen on a regular cadence, to just go in and keep practicing, right? And you can start small. This is why it's great. You're not like trying to start with like the annual review or something crazy. You're just starting something like normal, like a one-on-one weekly conversation that can be just a quick snippet of like what's going well, or maybe areas that aren't going so well to talk about that week. Okay. So that's tip number one, put it in your one-on-one. Tip number two is a part of the one-on-one, a great conversation to even lead into the feedback conversation is just asking them, how do you like to receive feedback? And then also sharing and letting them know that you are open to feedback and letting them know how you like to receive feedback. Okay. Really simple practice that can be really powerful and start to open up the dialogue there. Okay. So two, just ask them, how do you like to receive feedback? Okay. Number three, there are a ton of really great feedback formulas. I'm going to give you a short, sweet one that works for me that I like to use, but there's a lot. You can Google it if you really want to really dive deep into it. Lots of great content out there, books, etc., about feedback formulas. So here's one I like to use. Okay. And the caveat that I'd like to give for this is I'm going to give you a formula, but however, it always helps if you've already built a relationship of trust ahead of giving the feedback in whatever way, shape, or form, okay, that is possible. Still, the foundation is the relationship, okay? So it always helps if you already have a great relationship built with trust, okay? So do this ahead of time whenever possible. All right, but the formula. So step one of the formula, start with an I statement, okay? So you're going to be super specific here. You're going to say I, and then you're going to clearly articulate the behavior or the work that you are addressing. Okay. So some examples could be like, here's what I've noticed. Here's what I've seen. Here's what I've observed. In the meeting, I heard you say, or I saw you, and then be very specific about what behavior you're talking about. Okay. I statements, put it on you versus putting it on the other person. It's definitely something that can, I guess, take the situation from being accusatory to just more about your observations. Okay. So start with that I statement with number one. Number two, after you've stated the I statement, what you've seen or what you've noticed, then talk about the impact. So talk about what impact this behavior has on the work, the team, the business, their results, their career, right? Whatever the impact is, that's the statement you want to give next. This is the why behind it. So, hey, if I've seen you act this way, or I have seen this type of behavior, this is the impact of that behavior on your career. Okay. This is the why you're even talking about it. Okay. So that's step two. Talk about the impact. All right. Step three is opening up the discussion and asking their perspective and thoughts. You want to create a space here for a two-way conversation to ensure their understanding. And it could be really simple. What do you think? Or why did you think that way? Or what's on your mind, right? So something really simple, just asking their perspective and start a dialogue there. Be open to a two-way conversation. Next step, step four, you want to set then the clear expectation and clearly communicate what changes or improvements that you are expecting. All right. So you can come to an agreement and talk about what needs to change. And again, their input is absolutely welcome here. You can have a two-way dialogue, but some statements you can use are, here's what I'd like to see happen, or here's my expectations of your behavior, or what can we do in order to move forward and resolve this? Okay. That is the 4 steps. Super simple. A really great bonus tip is to follow up. Again, we're making this super normal. We're normalizing feedback. So again, if you have that one-on-one practice in place, you can then just follow up. You check in with them later to see how that feedback has either been implemented or not, and then offer some ongoing support as you progress. Okay. All right, friends, that is what I have for you today. I know I'm fired up on feedback, and I hope you found this conversation valuable. And if I leave you with nothing else, remember, it's our thoughts that we're thinking. You don't get to your level, senior level leader, and not get to the place where you've had to deliver feedback. But the thoughts that we're thinking about it can be what are holding us back as we continue to grow. We continue to take on bigger teams, more people, and it can be overwhelming and it can be a lot. And just notice as a senior leader, like, what are the thoughts that you're thinking about this feedback that might be holding you back from delivering it? And if any of this resonates, if you want help, if you are trying to work through this and you're feeling stuck and you want to get results faster, I can help you. Again, I can help you look at the thoughts that you're thinking, work through what's going on for you. We can work through it together and help you get results quicker. I'm doing this with clients right now as we speak. So I'm happy to help you in whatever way you need it. Don't hesitate to reach out. You can reach out to me on my website. It's ElishaCowanCoaching.com. It's ELISIAKEOWN coaching.com. And I would be so happy to connect with you and talk about how we could potentially work together. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you next time. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Executive Coaching Podcast with Elisha Cowan. If you're ready to have an executive coach who's ready to help you lead your team to success, then book an introductory call at ElishaCowanCoaching.com/call.